So it's here. It's the A9. It's the one that we've all been waiting for. Now, normally on this channel, I get straight in there with views and opinions the day things are released. But on this one, decided to sit on the fence for a while and just wait for all the information to start flowing through and panning out, just so I can get a real full picture of what it is that we're looking at here. And now is that moment. Now is the moment I've put pen to paper. So the A9 outright is fabulous, but there's many reasons why it might not be for you. I mean, the bigger body, the battery, touch focus, the 20 frames per second, the no blackout. Okay, if you are shooting sports and you're currently using an A7R2, this is your guy. I would just stop the rest of this video and just go and order it, because this is your new go-to. You need this in your life. If you don't have the budget, then I still recommend the 6500 for sports. You can do it on the A7R2, but this is going to be a whole new world for you for sports, and the 6500 is just a much faster machine really for sports than the A7R2. Now, what if you are currently using an A7R2? Should you be picking this up if that's the case? And that's where the true sort of lines for this get slightly muddied, because that's me. I am using an A7R2, and this isn't giving me gear. This isn't making me want it. And the reason for that is, once you've used an A7R2 for a while, especially if you're a pixel peeper, you're printing, that resolution, that 42 megapixel resolution is the one. And when you try and return back down again, if you are so used to having that ultimate resolution, you get smacked in the face when you go back down to 24. A lot of people, this isn't going to be an issue, especially if you're throwing out hundreds of sports shots a week. No one is really caring. But if you're taking that one shot, be it a landscape or a portrait, where you have time to set that shot up and you're just going in, boom, one shot, that's it, that goes on the website, that goes to print, that gets sent to the client, that's where the 42 megapixels starts to make a difference. Now, at the same time, I go through various stages of needing to do film and needing to do photography, and for that the A7R2 is my go-to, because I like flipping from full frame to Super 35. Gives me more options. I like shooting in 4K. I've got the ability for S-Log if I need it, and I've also got all those other picture profile settings. Now, not creative styles. Yes, you can use things like autumn leaves, which is great, but not so good if you're trying to do very low light or full dynamic range. That's where you can start to see issues with the autumn leaves slightly, and that's why they put it into the camera. Now, it's been removed from this, and I can understand why, but you need to ask yourself if you can live with that. It may very well go back in, but you're still spending £4,500 here for what is essentially not a video camera. It can do it, of course it can, but if you were to spend 2,000 on the A7R2, that leaves you a whole lot of bucks for your lenses, your cages, your audio, and you get the S-Log. Now, I'm just talking in a Sony world here. I'm not going to start branching out and saying, oh, GH5 or get an FS5. Let's just stick to the 6500, if you will, 7R2, and this A9. Let's just keep it within this. Now, if you're on a budget, boom, straight over to the 6500. I get a lot of the questions, A7 II or 6500. Look, the 7.2 has been around. Unless you're just doing portraits and you want that full frame, forget it. Go with the 6500. If your budget stretches, and it's going to stretch a bit further now this is out, the A7R2 will be coming down. So if you can go that route and you're more into video than stills, well, you can then start leaning 6500. If you are an APS-C fan, or if it has to be that full frame, then going with the R2. I wouldn't recommend the S2 at this time unless you only want to film in low light, because for that it shines, if you pardon the pun, but for everything else it's not quite as good. Where the A7R2 isn't as good in low light, but it just is better at everything else. So unless you're literally wanting the camera for one thing, low light, if you want full frame, 7R2 for video. So where is this A9 positioned, and who is it really for? So it's a 6500 features beefed up, obviously, don't get me wrong, and in a full frame body. 6500's great camera, mix that with full frame and you have a delicious recipe. But then they come along and they strip out a lot of the stuff that you may find useful if you're into video. So you could draw a little chart for yourself, pen and paper, what am I interested in? Stills only. Okay, move down. Stills only. Am I shooting sports? Move down. A9. But if that piece of paper at the very top takes you to video, then 4,500. Man, and if you're only shooting video, then you're well within the realms of the FS5 at this point. So, now, if you shoot sports and also do a bit of video with it, boom, A9, you got your answer. But you need to know what you're getting yourself into on this. It's not quite as cut and shut as when the A7R2 came out and it was just, there you go, that's the one. And we all rushed to buy. More cautious approach needed to this A9. You need to just make sure that this really is the camera for you, because you will cry into your cereal when you spend 4,500 on this, and then in 1 month, 2 months, 5 months, 6 months, the A9R or the A7R3 comes along, and it will not be 20 frames a second, make no mistake, but it might well be better for video and have more features. So unless you know 100% sure that it's that speed that you need, just hold tight that little bit longer. I know you've been waiting a long time. I know your credit card is ready for it, but just hold it back, because this might not quite be what you're after. As usual, guys, it's been emotional.